Have you ever felt like your life is always waiting for something to begin? You wake up tired. You rush through the day. You tell yourself that someday, when things slow down, you will finally start building the life you actually want. But someday keeps moving. The weeks pass, the months pass, and the dream stays exactly where it was, waiting. This is the story of Daniel, a man who discovered that the future he wanted was hiding inside the smallest, most ignored part of his day. Daniel was 34 years old and worked the night shift at a warehouse on the edge of Chicago. Every evening at 6 p.m., he drove through rows of gray buildings and parked under the same flickering streetlight. His job was simple: scan boxes, move pallets, repeat for 8 hours. The work wasn't difficult, but it drained something deeper than physical energy. It drained his sense of direction. Daniel used to have dreams. When he was younger, he loved photography. He carried a camera everywhere. City streets, old train stations, rainy sidewalks glowing under neon lights. He once imagined becoming a professional photographer, but life slowly replaced that dream with responsibilities: rent, bills, groceries. The camera was eventually placed inside a closet, where it stayed untouched for almost 4 years. Daniel told himself the same story many people tell themselves: "I just don't have time." When he got home from the warehouse at 2:30 in the morning, his body felt like a drained battery. He would collapse into bed, sleep until noon, scroll through his phone, eat something quick, and then drive back to work. Days blurred into each other until one small moment changed everything. One afternoon, Daniel was sitting in a quiet diner near his apartment, drinking burnt coffee and staring at his phone. Across from him sat an older man with a camera around his neck. The man noticed Daniel looking at it. "You shoot?" the man asked casually. Daniel shrugged. "I used to." The man smiled. "Used to is a dangerous word." Daniel laughed politely, but something about the sentence stayed in his mind. The man introduced himself as Marcus, a freelance photographer who had spent 20 years shooting magazines, portraits, and city life. Marcus asked a simple question. "When was the last time you picked up a camera?" Daniel hesitated. 4 years. Marcus leaned back in his chair. "So what stopped you?" Daniel gave the same answer he always did. "I work nights. My schedule is a mess. By the time I wake up, I barely have energy to think." Marcus nodded slowly. Then he asked a strange question. "What time do you wake up?" "Usually around noon." "And what time do you leave for work?" 5. Marcus tapped the table. "So what happens between 3 and 5? Daniel shrugged. "Nothing really. I just watch videos or scroll online until it's time to go." Marcus smiled. "Those 2 hours might be the most valuable hours in your entire life." Daniel laughed. 2 hours isn't enough time to build anything." Marcus shook his head. "That's where you're wrong. Most people think success requires huge blocks of time. But real progress comes from focused time." He leaned forward. "If you used those 2 hours every day, with 0 distractions, you could rebuild your photography career within a year." Daniel wanted to believe him, but doubt filled his mind. 2 hours felt too small, too weak, too insignificant. Still, something about Marcus's confidence sparked curiosity. So the next afternoon, Daniel opened the closet and pulled out the old camera. Dust covered the lens. The battery was dead. But the moment he held it again, something inside him woke up. That day, at exactly 3 p.m., Daniel walked outside with his camera for the first time in years. The first week was awkward. He felt rusty, uncertain. His photos looked average, and many afternoons, he almost stayed home instead. After a long night shift, his body begged for rest. But Marcus had given him one rule: don't focus on talent, focus on showing up. So Daniel created a simple routine. From 3 to 4:30, he walked through the city taking photos. From 4:30 to 5, he edited and uploaded the best ones online. No distractions, no phone scrolling, no excuses. Just 2 quiet hours. At first, nobody noticed his work. His photos received 5 likes, maybe 10. But Daniel kept going, day after day, week after week. By the 3rd month, something interesting started to happen. His eye improved, his speed improved, his confidence returned. People online began noticing his style. Dramatic shadows, quiet streets, lonely city moments. One photo went slightly viral, then another. Then a local magazine contacted him. They wanted to license one of his photos of a rainy Chicago street. The payment wasn't huge, $400. But to Daniel, it felt like proof. Proof that the dream wasn't dead. 6 months later, Daniel had built an online portfolio of over 300 photos. And something even more surprising happened. Brands started reaching out. A clothing company hired him to shoot a small campaign. Then a coffee shop asked for photos for their website. Suddenly, those 2 quiet hours were worth more than his entire shift at the warehouse. One evening, his manager called him into the office. "Daniel, you've been one of our most reliable workers. We're offering you a supervisor position, higher pay, more hours." A year earlier, Daniel would have accepted instantly. But now he understood something. More hours didn't mean more freedom. Sometimes it meant the opposite. So Daniel made a decision that once would have terrified him. He declined the promotion. Instead, he reduced his warehouse hours and expanded his photography work. A year after that conversation in the diner, Daniel was no longer working nights. His photography business had grown beyond anything he imagined. Magazines, brands, travel assignments. And every time someone asked how he built his career, Daniel gave the same answer. It started with 2 hours. 2 hours most people would have wasted. 2 hours that once felt too small to matter. But those hours weren't small. They were focused. And focused time has a strange power. It multiplies. Daniel's story carries a simple lesson. Most people are not trapped because they lack time. They are trapped because they ignore the small pieces of time they already have. 1 hour before work, 2 hours after dinner, 30 quiet minutes in the morning. Those moments look insignificant, but they are the building blocks of a completely different life. Stop waiting for the perfect schedule. It never arrives. Instead, protect your smallest block of time with ruthless focus. Because the future you want is often hiding inside the hours everyone else wastes. And sometimes, the only difference between an ordinary life and an extraordinary one is what you choose to do with 2 quiet hours.